皆さんこんにちは。日本コミュニティ担当の金子です。今日はアクセスマジック異界月第2話をお送りいたします。アクセスマジック第1話およびトレーラーも先日公開されていますので、まだご覧になっていない方は要チェックです。今日公開のアクセスマジック第2話では R&D チームがイニストラードを訪れたエムラクールと彼女がもたらした狂気について語ります。どうぞご覧ください。
Hey, welcome back to Access Magic, Eldritch Moon. Today I am joined by Principal Designer Jeremy Jarvis and Story Team Manager Jenna Helland, and we're going to talk about the development of the rich world of Innistrad. So, spoiler alert, Emrakul has arrived on Innistrad, and we've never seen this happen before, right?
That's right. We saw Ulamog as the destroyer, we saw Kozilek as the warper of reality, and now we see Emrakul as the warper of biology and people's minds.
So her environmental destruction is a bit more permanent, right?
It is. The people of Innistrad are never going to be the same.
Now, I love the imagery that we have here of people blooming into Eldrazi, because it's a very serene word to bloom into something, right? It suggests birth and new life.
Right, it's that juxtaposition of beautiful and terrible that we like with the Eldrazi. Like they're terrible, unknowable shapes and these really beautiful, vibrant colors. And with Emrakul, people just blossom. It's Eldrazi spring.
You get tentacles.
Yeah, you get tentacles, you get extra limbs, you get all that good stuff. Shadows over Innistrad was great because you can just see randomly in some small parts like a boop, just a little sprout here and there.
Yeah.
And like anyone that's attentive obviously looks and goes like, that's not like a zombie thing, right?
There's a horse that if you look really closely, it has a fifth leg and you can miss it just, the horse is running through, you're like, that's a classic gothic horror horse. But then you wait. You know, there's a fifth appendage on that thing.
So if you're paying attention, and especially if you're familiar with how Magic's creative team works, it was probably pretty loud for the people really paying attention.
Yeah.
And for other people, it just led to a lot of conjecture, which we're also absolutely fine with.
And it was really fun because with Shadows over Innistrad, we got to continue the gothic horror feel and start playing with the psychological madness, with the idea that, you know, that sense of dread was just growing, like you catch something out of the corner of your eye and you're not quite sure what it is. And then for Eldritch Moon, you get to just, you know, go from gothic horror to cosmic horror.
Right.
And that's been a lot of fun.
Someone was mentioning the 5 levels of awful. I'm really fascinated about that.
Yeah, the writers had names for it, and we created visual spectrums for it.
Yeah. We started out with distorted, and that's mainly the tentacle or the extra eye. And then we had disfigured, which is basically when you maybe have 2 eyes growing out and maybe some of the skin comes away and that's the lattice pattern. And then we had deformed, and that's when you're looking like you're growing another body on the back here. And then we moved into the M's, which was misshapen. And that's when it's starting not to look like whatever it was before. And then you get to monstrous, fibrous entangler. It was a werewolf at one point, but not a werewolf anymore.
Sam Burley, our lead concept artist, actually went through and kind of created this gradient, a scale, like how much that second step, what is the worst thing you see in Shadows over Innistrad, you know, not quite yet impacting silhouette, but maybe you've got some lattice texture on you, maybe you've got that tentacle peeking out, and then when you move to EMN to start with horror, and then on the double face cards, they do transform into creature-Eldrazi, right? And you see the full-on fibrous entanglers, an excellent example.
Yeah.
Now, in Shadows of Innistrad, we only got to the 2nd level of awful, and one of those cards was the Lone Wolf of the Netherknolls.
Right, you see this werewolf, and he's got some back knee on his shoulder, and a little bit of lattice on his latissimus dorsi, and that's bad, right? Until you see EMN, and then it's just like, nope, fibrous entangler.
Yeah, I like that we just turned the dial up, as you said, just so you can take it all the way.
EMN secretly shows you how good they had it in SOI.
It wasn't that good either.
Yeah, right. It's always in hindsight that you realize.
Yeah. Now, we've talked a lot about how Emrakul affects the citizens and denizens of Innistrad, but one group of angelic folk have also been sort of destroyed by Emrakul. Poor Bruna.
Yeah, she's not having a good day. Yeah, I think last time we saw them and, you know, Avacyn Restored, they're sort of this beacons of hope and light, and wow.
I mean, it was always going to end poorly for them. Let's be honest. That the story demands. The concept push made it a little worse. Like there was some pre-writing about maybe, you know, once you're all bloomed and latticey, things have the tendency to kind of merged together. Vincent Pross, a very talented illustrator, came into the concept push and drew what that was.
Yes.
And there's just this awe-inspiringly awful thing on the wall, and it's like, it's good, he got it out of his system, like it wouldn't even fit on a card. Then enter Ken Nagel. Ken Nagel is a senior designer. He's been fighting to get some sort of mechanic that takes 2 cards and smashes them together since New Phyrexia, and it kept getting cut and kept getting cut. And on the strength of that concept illustration, finally managed to get that to fly internally.
So these 2 cards flip over and a brand new mechanic is introduced, Meld.
Right. Meld is the evolution of the double face cards. So it's the splashiest and most in-your-face way to experience the flavor of what Emrakul is doing to this plane.
What it does is you have card number 1 in play. Once you get card number 2, they transform together and meld into something worse than either of them.
Oof. As if the Emrakul and her brood was not terrifying enough. Seeing that facing you down has to be a very intense experience.
It's important to us that it read across the table.
Yeah. That's it today on Access Magic Eldritch Moon. Thank you, Jeremy and Jenna, for joining me on the show. I'm Jimmy Wong. Stay tuned for a message from your local community manager and a first ever preview of Meld cards.
ご視聴ありがとうございました。来週はアクセスマジック第3話最終回です。お楽しみに。最終回ではイニストラードに縁のあるプレインズウォーカーリリアナ・ベスについて語ります。ところで合体カードは覚えていますか？天使の飛行隊長ブルーナとギセラも合体。ブリセラをご覧ください。